strip away the noise, distractions, and complexities. A place where we focus on what matters, and that is the whole essence of Hutsy. So at Hutsy, we don't just run under development. We meet in small cross-knit groups. We call them huts. We have like more than 10 huts, at 1, at 2, at 3, at 4, and so forth. And in these huts, we meet to share ideas, build projects, and go together. So we are not just creating apps, we are creating a family of creators. And as I said, and most importantly, transformation. Now, why is this important? For me, it's because, for me or for us, it's because in today's fast-paced world, people need spaces like this more than ever. The best ideas come from environments where individuals can learn, create, and challenge one another. And that's what Huts is all about. In fact, on our Tuesday session, this Tuesday, we invited Hut one, that is not the entire village. We invited one of the guys who has been in the Android ecosystem for some time. That is Chepsi. I personally learned it from Chepsi. Chepsi is a personal friend. So I learned from him. They were doing this around 2018, 2019. They used to meet every Wednesday, him, Juma, Bukachi, and a bunch of other guys. They used to have sessions whereby they could learn maybe new libraries, let's say Jetpack Compose, KMM, anything, any new concept or any concept that maybe someone in the team was struggling to grasp. And through that, I've seen them grow to the levels they're at right now. So for me, it has been really inspiring to see that. And I think he joined for a few minutes on Tuesday just to explain to us how they were doing that and how they've managed to grow to the level they're in today. Yeah, so it's a nice place to be if you want to grow. It's a nice environment to be if you want to grow as a developer. Because we network, we learn, we build. So if you're interested to be part of a hut has 4 members, whereby people get to present to one another, research about a concept, and it's not like it's people of different scales. It's we make sure it's people of the same scale. So, for example, if you're a beginner and you've just started development, we make sure we add you to a group of people with a similar skill level. If you're an intermediate, a senior, a principal engineer, we still have a place for you. So if you're interested in being part of a hut, I've shared a link at the chat section. You can sign that up and we'll find a hut for you. We also have we have an entire group with everyone. We call it the Hutsy Village now, where everyone is in there. We share opportunities. We unblock each other. We share bugs. Yeah. So if you're interested in growing, please find that link there and sign up. It's absolutely free. We are not charging you anything. Yes. But today we have something different. We have a treat for you. We're lucky to have someone that embodies the same spirit of Hutsy, which is continuous learning and improvement. And it's Reuben Bichage. Reuben has been not really active in the ecosystem, the Android ecosystem. I'm sure most of you haven't interacted with him at length, but he's an amazing guy. I've known him for the past 14 years because we met somewhere in 2010, from 2010 till 2013. You can guess where. So I know he's an incredible guy. And by the way, how I knew he was good at interviews, we were having a casual chat. Then he was telling me about how he goes about his interview situations. Now, I think from that, he didn't notice I was taking notes, but from the way the way he was explaining it, he's really good at it. I'm sure you're going to get the same when he's done with the presentation tonight. So please ask questions. There's a Slido link I think Fadji has shared it on our chat section as well. So feel free to interact and ask questions. And I hope you have an amazing session. So Reuben, karibu sana. Tupeleke.
Thank you, Noah. Hello, everyone. Yeah, like Noah mentioned, I've known him for a while now, and we are not used to meeting in such places. This is my first time giving a talk here in Hatsy. Actually, it's my first time ever in a public space. So it is a good experience. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And thank you so much, Noah. So like Noah mentioned, I'm called Reuben. I'm an Android developer. I've been around for a while. I've written a lot of bugs since I think 2017 or something like that. But yeah, it has been a good experience for me. I love learning something new. I have worked with a couple of people here. I can see Theo is here, Charles is here. Hey, everyone. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. Okay, I hope it's visible now. Okay, so today we're going to talk about Android interviews. And yeah, interviews are usually tricky subjects because nobody likes it. We don't like doing them. Yes, Ruben?
Sorry, it was by mistake. Continue. Sorry.
Okay, not a problem. Yeah. So I was saying interviews are very tricky subjects, especially in our ecosystem, and not just even in tech, but also in any other discipline out there. And we don't like them. We don't like doing them. We don't like having them. They are cumbersome. They are hectic. But at the same time, they are good experiences. You can learn a lot. And what I usually say, at least my philosophy is, if you're in tech, do as many interviews as you can. It doesn't mean if you're in, it means you want to have that experience of doing interviews. You can. So let's get started. It means you want to. So visas relationship, higher standards, and both relationships, right? But these are relationships with higher standards to work. You're working when you interview. Think of that are interviewing, is like this company the right fit for me? Are these people that are interviewing the right fit for me? And always have that perspective. And at any point, it doesn't matter. Always have it. These are usually the same. Yeah? And similar to any other interview. Yeah? And Android interview, the Android is to give information on some perspectives and algos. Now I put this in asterisks because mainly about Kotlin, because that is something new, and it is random. Some companies, I don't talking about that because unfortunately it says in asterisks because that is uniform across the board. It's random now, and today even unfortunately for board and all of we even talk about the when question, just raise your hand up, and topics we talk about until the very end to ask a question to have a CV. If you have a question, just raise your hand up. All CVs from primary and then ask relevant questions. CV basically is a professional CV description. CV basically is a professional description review. No one cares about your relationship status or the high school you went to. When it comes to care about your technical Android, but other technical software, the software engineering discipline, you want to make your CV this. No one cares about your relationships, tailoring your. So they'll have a job description. So the company requires. Let's say, and in this case, I'll be biased to Android. Summary try to highlight that better yet, as an Android dev, might know your past experience and the work before in low-end devices, so you can see other mapping services to like you see what you did. I mean, try to put numbers behind what you did. Put numbers stakeholders. Because remember, the person who will be reviewing numbers have meaning to stakeholders. Because remember, the person who will be is not in the probably in, if they see your CV, you're saying, okay, the engagement, enable user engagement. Now, 90% numbers means respect to mean match. It doesn't mean match. This is just a summary of it over and over again. You need to kindly raise your hand up, and then I'll repeat over. So this is what I talked about previously. After every section, now Zalo, go ahead.
Hi, Reuben. So my question is, what's your thought?
Okay.
And pager CVs.
Okay, because a CV, you're trying to be as precise. You're trying all your as precise as possible. If all achievements can fit in, become you'll really trim that down. Your CV becomes your 10 years experience, because like in your 2 or 3 other roles, what are you? What you are doing? Formats of chart. I will just share it in the. So this is a site that but you can download those templates. It was a very nice format. You can use that. I don't know if that. Yeah, it has a very. Okay, I will take that as a compliment. Okay, now on the next slide. Okay, now on the next interview, a prologue to this is so different, especially local ones. So steps on site. Yeah, this global standards on what you need to do and what you don't. So typically, you go to an office, do a CV, and in most disciplines, are not yet kicked in. So there weren't any like go to an office, hire your interview, but so typically, you go to an office or do a CV, and in most disciplines, Kenyan companies are doing the same. So right now, it's the process. Pass or you fail and you go home. Here, I think we're not even working for Kenyan companies, but the same thing. So it is a recruiter screening and like this is just a rough an abstraction of it. It is more nuanced. We'll get later. Usually is a recruit and then screening. You'll is get to that. I wrote tech. So, sorry, like in Google, for instance, or Fang, you will do multiple technical interviews, maybe 4 or 5. At least that was the interview. And then if you is through, then you'll do technical Fang. You will do so. The other stakeholders, a CEO, at least that, or a product manager, or owner. Go to your interviews, like your 90% is that an engineering manager interviews more. With regards to this, continue. Apply for a job and you pass the CV, your CV. There's any questions so far? Is okay, everything looks fine. Recruiters, people, so you want to be precise too. What will matter in the subsections will matter. Yeah, see, like what I mentioned, it will just be years of experience, the technologies they're using, are they aligning with what you have? Sections. That's where we have. So try submissions from recruiters, and someone said, what examples for the last 7 years. Now a recruiter might see, okay, this technical people. So it's recruiters try to be work with a liar as honest with possible. Salary negotiations. Tricky subject. Anyone has a question about salary negotiation? If anyone has a question about salary, please know your value. And when I say know your value, I mean be pragmatic about your value. Juma and 13,000 USD, it doesn't mean you are. But what I say is, when I say know your value, I mean USD, it doesn't mean you ask for 13,000 USD. Ask money based first offer. Let the recruit do and make the first offer, and yeah, how much is the salary? Just do it. And yeah, how much is the salary expectations? Ask what is the budget. So the recruitment, okay, we'll proceed. Now with the recruitment, usually, okay, we'll proceed to be now with the recruitment.
But I found something else. Most common screening test.
Upon most assistant. Okay, people usually recruitment and interview with an engineering manager. Now, assistant. Okay, so after engineering with an engineering manager. Now, this called with an engineer, think as the boss of going to be a little bit technical engineers, not technical manager. This seems don't know who is engineering manager in a as usual sort of aligns all the engineering team engineers in a set direction. Managers and meetings with engineering manager definitely knows some of these things. Is to see, okay, for the interview, basically all the EM, what an EM is trying to do personal. So an engineering manager will ask you a lot of things. it is same as before. Remember, now this is one of the few places I missed an important slide here. Candidate. The difference between like an engineering fit where we don't give as an engineering department in this people in a day. It says I missed a manager and a recruiter is people in a day, ask a lot of questions, and one will always everything you're doing, ask questions, and I will emphasize this across the board. They show they show your curiosity, that you can challenge the standard of what you're doing, a lot of technical questions. Better. An engineering manager will ask you, EM has knowledge of normal. Think of the difference between an EM and a recruiter is an EM. You explain it to him. How do you collaborate with other stakeholders like product managers? So if the you know, your Scrum ceremonies, how do you do it to grow as a do it? Collaborate with other product managers. The coding standards you maintain, you're trying to grow is usually easy. This part is just not common. And if you're nervous of an EM interview, mention it so that when you say the wrong thing or you say other time. The EM interview. Any questions so far? Structures and algorithms. And it was because this is what I best know the assignments. And now when it comes usually simple, and they are simple for a reason, especially to show your technical. I am able to tell you because the intention is for such something saying somewhere or and possession. So it is simple thing is one thing like take away assign value, you know, don't what you best can and take your time with them. In most of these takeaway like there's a specific focus, they will look at you. If you know this is supposed to take a week, don't you take your time with other architecture of your choice. They care this thing is important, and we'll get to that later on because they care about your caching, how your app handles configuration changes, your data persistence, and clean code later on. Clean code is solid. I hope we understand what solid is. If you don't, they care about. I can explain this in a few. That's changes. Okay. Yeah. So solid guide is solid. I can explain this in a few. Yeah. You know, a set of principles that responsibility means is like, and they represent different things. Like the S, if a function use case called sign-in user, you know, responsibility and of your classes, your function, only do one thing. If you have or let me say signing out a user, not right. You can find it and testable online. The L is for list code. Okay. Yeah, so there's interface show up and show out. Everyone else. They're just a set of rules that try to guide good, reusable, and tested. Like, so I'm basing this off of the requirements that my company has in terms of architecture. There's no specifics else. It is just a rule book of the things we. Let's continue. Yeah, run the project assessments. Sure. This is your chance to stand out from any the assessment. All of this, all the technologies you're using, all the libraries. What are any compromises made so different that is from everyone else? And I am basing this off of the requirements that my company that you didn't get to do in terms of takeaway assignments. So a specific set of questions, but it is just after that, right? All of us to run project that is not 100 engineer will review your code. The backend assessment. All the technologies you're using, all the. So let's say you didn't get to do some features and do that so that whoever reviews this knows this can be called interview, ignore because in most, but rather what things an assessment is for your fellow engineers, and one week to do it. You might have to be prepared. Next time. Okay, we can after you are done with now what is a or at least don't ask or have interviewers, your fellow engineers. Take your time and get ready. Which they ask you, for instance, someone might not ask you what and just review, but in a broader exercise. And instead of it is usually long. Companies will set like an hour and 30 minutes, sometimes too. Success. They will try to find certain use cases. So instead of asking you what an exponential back case, when I call important time, but to know that understanding something is much more important about this code or something. Similarly to anywhere else, it is much more important. And so to not answers in your submission, but in the midst of it is so and the meaning of part to know why 1 + 1 is 2 than to know 2. So okay, so to be mainly unrelated, change is not as good before. The next time, and I was tired. It's like this technical part. It is going. If you noticed, the difference between these two is light change. Before I didn't have and the assessment, but technical interviews same thing. Language specific scientific is read by itself. Usually it's just, does the candidate understand this? Does the candidate understand and description of all of that? What is this? What is this? Yeah. So there's no set of questions that I can share. A case thing as the very first labs, and it's we specific understand this that based on these questions, so we expect you answer. Later on, it has every innovative as possible. Some we might when it comes to state management and how everything works in composite. Some management and how everything works in composite. Yeah, and like something in integration with Android components, how we explain, you might need to work on version topic parts. It as you hit a starter things, yeah. Car usually has different and it starts and provided, or at least you don't care how power is being provided. You don't care how the wheels are turning. You just know if I hit the starter and I press, whenever you start, yeah, you provided, or at least you don't care. This in your use cases, how you're supposed to care, don't care how the wheel reads something, and they'll be available to you at runtime. And there's a couple of things independent. The starter and I press different, dependency in general, something like that is the same thing, right? Both have multi bindings. You have your network and all of modules. This how these things are being provided. Their programming model and things independent. Most important topics in Android is remote. There's different. Some use coins, some use Hill works. All work in a specific scope. And what I mean is fragment that might not be scoped to the entire composite life cycle of the application. Most important topics in Android is view model. When it comes to view models, I added emphasize it is important to understand how some people terms a view model is a stakeholder Java how does it compile arrays parts of the UI, how does it integrate with either fragments or so this is something that you need to understand. There is trying to build apps that they don't expect questions. Who was up to this? Gradle is a build system. It enables you to study well, find as much resources as you do, to publish libraries, you to run your pipelines that deploy apps. ANR if you used an Android apps application question that is called an ARR. It happens when the main thread is locked after 5 seconds. So, and yeah, I'm not used to detect an ours. Play Store, it's a long time. And performance, this is a when it comes to building apps, right? We're optimizing little apps that work on all devices. So, yeah, this is important of the thing that so it is important as much resources as you can do. Next, use Medium. I try to read as much as I can. And ours is not responding. That is called an error. And ours placing your apps, try to crash them as performant as possible. And this it is the code using complete data management, image loading, optimizing, and it's test one of the most important performance. And why is testing important? I will use an example of a car. Companies not a million, but a lot of sensors have to run each as possible. So similar, are we sure it works or look at comes in because when it not just in interviews but in building applications. Whenever you're writing, but code that you write, right? Supposed to code efficient. Are you doing everything right? If you compose, are you reducing recompositions? Are you caching your data? And now in and all of that. Are you causing memory leaks anywhere? All of that stuff. And you're at the masses of the QA and the users. Because I do is I'm going to test all the failing cases of logging in. And why is user logs in and we don't have network? Are we propagating the correct? I will use an example of a car. A car has going to use. Are we going to use mocks? Are we going to use fakes? Each think of going to plug it into the can. Figure out if you don't do it. We have QA temperature, that we have APM, we have all of the technology. So, but they're components of your core devices here. See how it works through that electric. Bottom there's something called TDD, so that can do UI tests. So TDD is most of tablets different, but like try to do TDD as much as release. TDD basically means is release management is how we deploy annual. You're supposed to log user. Think of it as you finish writing your feature. You can an APK to a user. Just write your you haven't tested the QA and users, and then people can automatically update. So what you usually do is I'm going to there's test there's build signing of logging in that you use, like this trunk based, there's master and all of that. This is something you can do correct at the main topics. A user has logged in, grade, or you can just what are we going to use your UI layer, your data layer, your domain layer, how mocks, are we going to use fake changes of our code base do we need to unit test? Changes business requirements. Is it 80 always? Companies always. Sometimes it's up to the engineers to come up with this discipline. You make sure. When it comes to AI tests, you can do this through. You can do AI tests. Sizes. You have foldables. You have. Can never look the same. So then there's relating and to our QAs to test. Think of it as you finish writing your future. A couple of ways you can do this. You can send and or your pipelines to ODHR whenever, so people can automatically update their apps, not from Play Store, but like in our case, we use app distribution, the app center, but it is going out and programming. Okay, nice. A main oriented programming and object-oriented programming, and it has a few basic concepts. Data layer, don't use them, all of that, because you might need to know how stuff works, and if there's one thing that doesn't change is business. Polymorphism, run. You're the same person, but you can do multiple things. That is the aspect of polymorphism. So you have to, like a function or a class can do multiple things. First way, which doesn't mean you make sure there's a. These are the main topics that we'll handle. So far, any questions? After. Okay, that's a good thing. Let's do that. Okay, now thing. Kotlin is wide. You just have to know. All pastors say I'm listing here. They are mainly what for an hour, and like remember, even if I'm interviewing you, Kotlin is an interesting language. If I forward you with a lot of questions or I'm turning into a combative person, you will not want to work with me. And it's important 27 before we get in a way that so Kotlin is an object-oriented set of functions. You can check that out to the document. Object-oriented is object-oriented programming, and it has a few basic. People might call that data. Like in Java, what you call a POJO. Things to inherit it, blah blah blah, to understand works that. Like polymorphism, you as a human being, you can work with, you can multiple things. That is the aspect of polymorphism. Follow that, and that is sufficient. Or a class. Yeah, you love multiple routines. This doesn't mean in Kotlin there will be a couple of things in what is. Okay, I think common question relating to coroutines, they won't be direct, but you'll be given a scenario where you'll have to display and understand. A job will ask you what's the difference between thread that sleep versus after everything is done. It functions. So you need to go the handling continue with propagation. And you just have to know with compose. Mainly we do flows. Async await works. Think of Kotlin as JavaScript, but better, because you never know what someone might ask you. Now, finally, that I only have an hour, and Like remember, even if I want to turn person, that nobody, unlike our politicians. So then you have classes meeting to classes. Do this. Someone asks you, what is X? You say the question, and X works this way, but there are ways of doing this. What are you currently doing? Data, blah blah blah, and then classes. You've written Java before, you'll notice some difference. If I interview you, data class in Kotlin, you're currently dealing with deadlocks related to mutex because our shared preference is important again. And he was telling me, there's a lot of ANRs for this mutex standards. How are you handling it? And that was a good question because the understanding of zoning as a particular lengthy than you knowing before. Answers like didn't that is officially like routines are way of synchronizing or sustaining function is where you'll have to display and understand. Someone tells you something and you have a question. It does, even if you think it's stupid, versus delay. Functions. Routines. Mainly we do flows. In this, thank you. Well, I interviews and I think of it is one of the few places where you should care what you think of you, and you should try to be as possible whenever you're working with. And another important thing is at every part of an interview, try as much as ask, how can I you'd like to give me before do this. Someone asks you, and I'm going to blow the team. Okay, I understand. There's other ways of doing this. What are you kind of doing? How are you doing this? Blah blah. Turns into a discussion, and viewer's perspective. If I interview you, enough difficult question, like recently, a lot of ANRs from doing it, and that I'm questioning for because it is a problem that we are currently dealing with. I even Google, okay, you have a lot of ANRs in your app, so on how this candidate had solved it, they and you're answering a question. Any point in the interview, ask questions. I think it's stupid. You're listening to, like always go interview learning.
I don't know if you're done. I had
Ask this question.
a question.
Be known as this.
How do you know you can apply for the job and
He felt the
get it?
yeah, I'll get back to you. The good thing with the is yeah, so you have to be lucky ones. Bad guys are like for this technical work for you is to try. So don't be afraid to be demoralized. Usually, this is one of the few places where you should care what people think. Difficult question, part of an interview. Proceed to the next step if they'll be at all. And I'm CTO. These are people who ask you question, but it is finally this before you take your. It doesn't just mean
Reuben, can you hear me?
sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I am saying that's okay. You can go ahead.
So the first question I think is in the one that you were asked by Bicon.
The interviewers might,
I
e.g., I'm looking for someone
Nope.
really good, but
That's you
mean that they were some this thing. Sure, in the future, called Abraham Lincoln. You just and go be good. If you have watched Narcos, guys have to be lucky all the time. So you only need one interview that you know. So don't be afraid, don't be demoralized.
We can start with those two, then I'll share my screen.